Do you want to maybe contextualize why you call it a game and what the game itself is?
For sure. Yes, I call it a game. So I saw this tweet by Nick Milanovic that said, sometimes it's weird to remember that we're all effectively competing to hit the right keys on our keyboards in the right order. And if we do that for long enough, then we get to buy a house. And I thought that was such a funny way to describe work. And I had written about gaming before, and I remember the definition, so I went and looked that up too. And the definition of a video game is a game played by electronically manipulating images produced by a computer program on a television screen or other display screen. And so I was like, damn, you combine these two things, and what we do for work every day, particularly when you're remote, really does feel like a video game. And so, like, what else does that imply? How is a game designed? What are people optimizing for in a game? How are the best games designed? So we can go into that a little bit, but I love this podcast that Josh Buckley did with Patrick O'Shaughnessy, and he talked about a few things. One, that the best games are designed to kind of put people in flow, and if anybody spent a lot of time on Twitter or in Reddit or in wherever else, I think you can get kind of lost in there for a really long time. So either that's kind of like mindless scrolling and addiction, and that's probably the negative way to look at it. And the positive way is that you're just in flow in this kind of global conversation. I think it depends how you kind of filter your social channels. He actually said that, himself said that Twitter and Facebook and all these platforms are kind of like these very big video games. And he mentioned kind of the 4 elements of successful game design, which are frequent feedback loops, variable outcomes, a sense of control, and connection to a metagame. And I think all of those kind of exist when you're doing something online. That could be building a company online. That could be you have a full-time job, but you're following a passion online. And maybe you tweet something and it works and it gets a lot of likes, and maybe it doesn't. And then you learn from that, and it's a really fast feedback loop, and you keep going. But I think the most interesting thing is, the fact that there's this connection to the metagame. So the things that you do online that feel an awful lot like you're playing a video game actually have an impact on your bank account and your life and who you meet and your friends. And so I think that's kind of the connection that I made, was that you're doing all these things on a computer, but they have real world outcomes, and there's just this massive upside to doing it right. Obviously, you can be canceled, and I know that Balaji, replied to me and was like, mostly agree with this, but this is why pseudonyms are important, because there is some downside if you play the game wrong. But I think for the most part, as long as you're not doing anything crazy, mostly upside. And if you are going to play a little bit more extreme, there are options like pseudonyms and all of that to play that way.